Hey guys, I am here with our UFC, where is it? UFC Seattle picks. But before that, as you can see here, last time around we did UFC London, and we did very good on our picks. We made about 15% profit, 15% relative to our original bankroll, of course. But yeah, we did very, very good. I'm not gonna go over what happened last time, but just a few highlights. Movsar Evloev did not get robbed, even though a lot of people will tell you that, and we did win that pick, 2.5x. Michael Venom Page, most boring fight of all time, but 3.3x. What else did we do good? Christian Leroy Duncan doesn't actually have like crazy hands as people think. 2.8x. Nathaniel Wood obviously better than Lucien Keita, 4.5x. But yeah, we did really well. We went from about, at least from our original hypothetical bankroll, we went from 1.56 thousand to like 1700. Very, very good. And by the graph, we did very good. 70.56% win rate so far. So very good. So now let's just get right on into the card. So before I start doing picks, remember that a pick is what you should hypothetically put money on. Let me just close my door. A pick is what you should hypothetically put money on, and a prediction is just what I think is going to happen. And a pick, I mean, like, here's the thing: you should never gamble because you will lose. This is just for educational purposes only. However, I have made a significant amount of hypothetical money doing this. Uh, so yeah, let's start on with the first fight of the night: Alexia Thainara versus Bruna Brazil. This is actually a rematch, which a lot of people aren't talking about. Um, Alexia Thainara has one loss, and that is actually Bruna Brazil herself. Bruna Brazil has six losses, however. Alexia Thainara is pretty much undefeated besides that Bruna Brazil loss, and I think it was a guillotine. Alexia Thainara, pretty good, like very, very muscular, very, very, I guess you could say, like physical. Much stronger than Bruna Brazil, who's more of like a point fighter. I'm gonna pick Alexia Thainara money line. I would be tempted to go decision, however, Bruna Brazil, uh, I'm not sure about her counter grappling. You know what I mean? And Alexia Thainara does have a really nice rear naked choke, and she does train jiu-jitsu quite a bit, and she does compete. But I will trust her in the fact that she's much more physical and she can overtake a fight where the other fighter is starting to wilt, and that's what Bruna Brazil does. So I'm gonna say Alexia Thainara money line. I'm gonna predict that uh, Alexia Thainara wins by decision. However, next we have Ricky Simone versus Adrian Yanez. So this is kind of a sad fight. I'm not gonna lie, because Adrian Yanez was a very good prospect at some point in time, but six losses, man, and Ricky Simone seven losses, but those were quality losses, right? And he has wins over very good fighters, right? He just took out a Basharat, bro. I forgot his name. Not his name, obviously. I forgot which one. The worst one, Javid Basharat, I think. And he beat Marab back in the day, and that's a pretty big thing. Um, Adrian Yanez has lost to pretty unexceptional fighters. Um, Ricky Simone had a very competitive fight against Raoni Barcelos last time. Raoni Barcelos, a tough customer. He swings hard, and he's a very good wrestler, and he's got a lot of grit. And he's lost to Vinicius Oliveira and Mario Bautista and Song Yadong. These are very good fighters. Rob Font, Uriah Faber back in the day. These are legends of the sport. I'm telling you. And Ricky Simone obviously is not them, but neither is Adrian Yanez. Adrian Yanez has lost to what? Daniel Marcos? Like, come on, dude. And I guess Jonathan Martinez, he's all right. And Rob Font, but it's just who has he beat really? His best win is likely Davy Grant, which isn't all that, to be honest with you. And neither is Daniel Marcos, who lost to was it Montel Jackson? Yeah, I just don't trust Adrian Yanez in beating a tricky customer in Ricky Simone. Ricky customer. um, so I'm gonna go with Ricky Simone money line. I'm gonna predict that Ricky Simone takes it I'm gonna say Ricky Simone takes it via decision. I don't want to see Adrian Yanez get knocked out, even though I have before, but it can happen. In the same way he did Javid Basharat. Ricky Simone, money line. Ricky Simone via decision as my prediction. And Casey O'Neill versus Gabriel Fernandez. I'm not too well versed in WMMA, as you guys know. Um, I know that these two girls are very, very talented. However, I haven't seen enough tape or care enough to make a very solid prediction or even pick, to be honest. Um, Sorry about that, but I'm not gonna be watching this. So Casey O'Neill versus Gabriel Fernandez. Sorry, no pick or prediction. Next we have Marcin Tybura versus Tyrell Fortune. Now here's the thing: these are heavyweights, and Marcin Tybura has slowed down as he turned 40. Tyrell Fortune has 3 losses in the regional scene. Marcin Tybura is a tricky customer as always, and he has very, 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 very good grappling in the sense that he will grit down on his mouthpiece and start making you wear him. Um, but he is susceptible to being chinned, and I'm after that loss to Antti Delia, who, as it turns out, isn't as really as good as we thought he was. Uh, didn't he lose? Who did he lose to last time? I remember it was pretty unimpressive. Sergey Spivak. He lost to Spivak. Um, and he lost on the feet to Spivak. So Antti Delia, as it turns out, isn't very good. Marcin Tybura is just too susceptible to being chinned by a newcomer that I'm not really gonna trust him to beat Tyrell Fortune. I'm not gonna trust Tyrell Fortune to beat Marcin Tybura either. So I'm just gonna have no pick for this. My prediction is going to be Tyrell Fortune via KO. I can see that happening, and I think it'll happen. But yeah, interesting fight for the heavyweight division. Next we have Chase Hooper versus Lance Gibson Jr. Now I'm gonna be honest, going through this card, it's actually a very profitable card, like the UFC London card was. Lance Gibson Jr. is scary. I'll say that because he did fight a really tough opponent in Bobby Green, who Bobby Green we made a lot of money off of a couple cards ago because he beat Zell Huber. He's just such a good striker, and Lance Gibson had Bobby Green in trouble a few times because he's a hard swinger. He's got very good footwork. But I don't know about the grappling, and he actually did at moments get out grappled by Bobby Green. Bobby Green, he's not like a great grappler. He's more just like an experienced grappler, if that makes any sense. Chase Hooper, the greatest grappler we may ever see. Obviously not, but he's a very good grappler. I mean, I wouldn't say wrestling is his strong suit, but his jiu-jitsu is next level. I mean, I don't think there's anyone in this division besides Charles Oliveira who can beat him in a legit, just pure grappling match. Chase Hooper, just so experienced, and he has pretty high fight IQ, but he is pretty lost on the feet, however. And his chin might be a little bit shot from that last fight with what's his name again? The dude with the bubble gut. Alexander Hernandez. His chin might be shot. He's lost to other fighters like Steve Garcia, but he's a lightweight, and I think he's filling out his frame a little bit nicer this time around. Lance Gibson Jr. is just not experienced enough to fight someone like Chase Hooper, who I think can take him down easily and really start to pour it on with the grappling. And once the fight keeps going, I think he's going to get drowned by Chase Hooper on the ground. And I think that we might be able to see a Chase Hooper sub like old times. Chase Hooper, money line. My prediction is Chase Hooper via submission. Next, we have Ignacio Bahamundes versus Tafik Musayev. Tafik Musayev, 36 years old. 36 years old. Lost to, I love him, Muktabek Orolbai. Muktabek Orolbai is a very good fighter. He is like Bilal Muhammad in the welterweight division right now. Insanely good, so it's kind of makes sense that Tafik can't beat Muktabek. Ignacio Bahamundes is an equally tough opponent, though. In fact, he comes out of Bilal's gym, so I'm sure Bilal knows and can game plan around Musayev. Musayev is a very small lightweight. Bahamundes ginormous. Look at this reach difference. That's not something you can scoff at. 12 centimeters. What is that? 4 inches? It's a little too insane for me. Bahamundes, I think he can pick him apart at range. Really start to. And I think he's better in grappling too. I think his jiu-jitsu's better. The only thing that Tafik Musayev might have over him is the strength advantage. He might be able to get a takedown or two, hold him down. Ignacio Bahamundes has very good work off his back though. And I don't know if Tafik Musayev has all of that jiu-jitsu like to really start working on him when Ignacio Bahamundes is on his back, especially when he lost to a Kimura last fight. So I'm saying that Ignacio Bahamundes takes it money line. I'm going to predict that Ignacio Bahamundes takes it via a submission. I think Tafik Musayev is very susceptible to being submitted, and I think Bahamundes, if it gets to the ground, it's a pretty quick and easy job for Bahamundes, who is a very skilled grappler. So next fight, we have Terrence McKinney. First fight of the main card. Terrence McKinney versus Kyle Nelson. If there was ever a fighter that you shouldn't put money on, it's Terrence McKinney. He's just way too chinny and powerful to put money on. Kyle Nelson is a very powerful fighter. Not very. But he did put down Matt Favola pretty quick, who has a relatively similar type of chin to Terrence McKinney. Terrence McKinney, insane power, pretty good jiu-jitsu, has very good submissions, insane knockouts, can put down anyone, including Kyle Nelson. And I think he's going to win this fight. I'm going to have no pick. However, my prediction is going to be Terrence McKinney via knockout in the first round. Next, we have Mansour Abdul Malik versus Yusri Belgaroui. So Mansour Abdul Malik is a younger fighter, 28. He's actually a relatively tall middleweight, but 6'2" or 6'3". Yusri Belgaroui, however, is like 6'6", ginormous man. Has a shorter reach, but that's not really going to matter when you're that much taller. Yusri Belgaroui, however, it seems like Alex Pereira's camp really knows how to drill takedown defense well. And I don't think that Mansour Abdul Malik is going to be able to pick up someone like Yusri Belgaroui, especially when Yusri Belgaroui could not be taken down by Azamat Bekov. And it seems like they're very good at game planning, especially against a grappler. A grappler in, what's his name? Mansour Abdul Malik, who does have a lot of power and strength in the same way that Bekov had. But Yusri Belgaroui, I think he can keep it on the feet, and I think that Mansour is going to be pretty lost on the feet. He might be able to hit a really big strike and knock down Yusri Belgaroui, but I'm preying on the fact that Yusri Belgaroui keeps it on the feet. He's a kickboxer, okay? He might not have the greatest chin because of all that kickboxing experience and the losses, but I think he's good enough at hitting and not getting hit to where he can dish out a nice, clean win. I'm going to say... Actually, I'm not sure how good Mansour Abdul Malik's chin is. And I'm not sure how insane Belgaroui's power is. Because he couldn't knock out what's his name? Bekov. But he did really piece him up. Actually, no, he did. He did like TKO him. In a very like he did TKO him. I remember that actually. But it wasn't really like a knockout TKO. It was more just a crumble against the fence TKO. Okay, I'll go with Yusri Belgaroui money line. I'm going to predict that he takes it via decision, however. Next, we have Larian Douglas versus Julian Erosa. Julian Erosa, I think this is pretty easy. Julian Erosa is aging. He's not very good at the moment. Larian Douglas, even though his record does seem bad, he's just a very flowy type of striker. He's very composed on the feet. His footwork is immaculate. I think he's going to be one of the better striking prospects in this division. This division is actually not even that deep, to be honest with you. But that's still saying something as a lower weight class fighter. He's very skilled on the feet. Julian Erosa, he never was all that good. Um, so I'm just gonna say Larian Douglas money line. I'm gonna predict that Larian Douglas takes it via TKO on the fence over Julian Erosa. Next we have Nico fucking Price, who's still fighting to this day, versus Michael Chiesa. I don't know, man. Come on, dude. Why is Nico Price still here? This is quite a layup for Michael Chiesa, and I think it's his retirement fight. It's not a hard fight to pick. Let's be honest, guys. Michael Chiesa is a better fighter, and he's not even that good. He's gonna take him down. He's gonna submit him. Michael Chiesa via submission. I'm just gonna say Michael Chiesa money line because I don't know if he. I don't know. I don't know how good he is at this stage because he only beat fucking 8,000-year-old Tony Ferguson and some other guy. So yeah, Michael Chiesa money line over Nico Price. I'm gonna predict that he takes it by submission. Nico Price, also your retirement fight, buddy. So co-main event we have Alexa Grasso versus Macy Barber. Macy Barber on a pretty good streak right now, looking better than Alexa Grasso, who does get bullied quite a bit these days. But I think that Alexa Grasso is actually not as bad as people think, and she's just fighting some relatively good, tricky customers, I guess you could say. Macy Barber has lost to Alexa Grasso, and I'm talking about prime Alexa Grasso, though. The one that was tagging up, that was able to tag up Valentina Shevchenko on the feet, or rather just make it a competitive fight. Um, I don't even. Okay, I'm just gonna say no pick on this. Macy Barber has been looking good, and she's a relatively green fighter. Who did she fight last? She fought. Was it What's her name? I forget her name. Oh, it was Karine Silva. Right, and she looked pretty good in that fight. Um, wow, she's pretty inactive actually. But I mean, I can't complain. It's a woman fight, or rather, it's a woman fighter. I'm just gonna have no pick for this. I can see Alexa Grasso showing levels to the game that Macy Barber might not have stepped up to as of yet. However, I can also see Macy Barber really tagging up Alexa Grasso and really making her suffer on the feet. So I'm just gonna say no pick. I'm gonna predict that Macy Barber takes it via decision. And next, our main event of the evening: Israel Adesanya versus Joe Pyfer. I've gone back and forth on this fight. Izzy, a still a fundamentally good striker. However, he has lost a lot of his pop and his thud, if you will, power, more accurately. Joe Pyfer has a pretty good chin, so I don't think that Izzy is going to be able to knock him out. Izzy has his grappling, I would say, or rather his takedown defense has regressed quite a lot. And Joe Pyfer is a very good wrestler. He's very strong. He's stronger than Izzy for sure. He's a giant fighter. He's a giant middleweight. Izzy not so much. Izzy's chin is shot though. That's the one thing I really want to make note of. He got knocked out by a straight right hand. It was a bit of an overhand, but still, he got knocked out by um, Nazardine Imavov, and it's really taken a toll between the two Alex Pereira fights, and I think his chin is shot from all that damage he took. Joe Pyfer is not going to let that go. And he's a very good game planner, and he knows that Izzy's chin is shot, and he knows that his defense has some holes in it when he's stance switching, when he's going backwards. Like, Sean Strickland also dropped Izzy. It's just not a good look. And if Joe Pyfer were to land the exact same shot that Sean Strickland hit, which was a straight right, from a very weak fighter, or rather a low power fighter, Joe Pyfer would put his ass down with no regard. I don't know. I like Izzy, and I think he's able to tag up Joe Pyfer on the feet if it really gets down to a technical battle on the feet. But I think that Joe Pyfer is a pretty high fight IQ fighter. Um, After his fight with Hermanson, Hermanson really taught him that a better fighter can still lose if the game planning is working or if there's some craftiness going. You know what I mean? And Izzy's not all that crafty anymore. He's not a crafty vet, and he never really was. He was more just a young green fighter or rather a younger green fighter when he was first in the UFC. Joe Pyfer, young green fighter, way better in the grappling. I think if it gets to the ground, it's either going to be a Joe Pyfer round for the entire round, or Joe Pyfer is just going to choke him out. He's a relentless grappler. He's never going to let you settle. Joe Pyfer's cardio does somewhat go down, uh, but I'm not sure if it's actually going down because he looks pretty good in his third round, especially between on that fight against Gastelum. I'm not sure if it was a slowdown or if it was more just Joe Pyfer realized he couldn't knock out uh, Gastelum, like even though he swung with everything he had in him. Gastelum still got up, so he utilized his fight IQ to just cruise control and be slightly faster and better than Gastelum to where he doesn't get TKO'd from just gassing out. I think that Joe Pyfer is a smart fighter, and I think that if he loses on the feet, he's just going to go to the ground and take him down. I think Joe Pyfer is better everywhere except for the really technical striking and perhaps the speed. I'm going to go with Joe Pyfer. Joe Pyfer money line. I'm going to predict that Joe Pyfer takes it via TKO. I'm sorry, Izzy. You're probably going to get knocked out. But that's just how it goes. So, yeah, that is our UFC Adesanya versus Pyfer Seattle fight card. Bye-bye.